Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Food Court by DSG. I am Michelle Wollenzien, your host, and I have Marcus Washington with us today for episode. You're our third guest, Marcus. Thank you for coming. I wanted to wish everybody also, we are deep in the heart of the holidays. So happy holidays to you, whatever holiday you celebrate. We hope you're having a safe and happy holiday. Um, I met Marcus on LinkedIn, and I have to say, you came to mind right away. I wanted you to be a guest. Marcus is very active on LinkedIn, fascinating posts. You wear many hats, and you share a lot of those hats on LinkedIn. And so I'm excited to introduce you. Marcus is the co-founder and CEO of Recall Radar. And I know you and your wife Brianna are uh, both co-owners of this company. So very exciting. But not only is Marcus the founder and CEO of Recall Radar, but you are also, let's see, I see pigs, I see chickens, I see rescue dogs, I see photos of barbecue, and of course, your beautiful family. That I think we all enjoy following, and so it's really nice to have you. Thank you for being here. And why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to food safety and everything else.
Yeah, so of course, my name is Marcus, and got my start in food safety when I went to OSU. So initially, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to work in the food industry, but I was going to do like agribusiness as my major at OSU. Excuse me. And my admissions counselor, what she basically described what I want to do was food science. Because I told her I wanted to work in the food industry or potentially own a food business, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And then after she told me that, I switched my major to food science. I took a lot of different classes related to like just general food science. So we did an introduction to food science, a meat science class, and then one year I needed to do a quality control class. It was full. And so then I did a third party audit schemes. So that covered SQF and BRC. And then that's how I got into the food industry. So really just had needed to get into a class, couldn't get into it, and then ended up getting into it by I went backwards. So most people would take like HAZUP first. I ended up going straight into SQF or BRC and then took HAZUP after that.
Wow, nice. Look at you diving right in.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, very good. And you are, let's see, running Rhodes Farm. Is that what?
Yeah, so that's where we do all of our farming. So we have a small farm here in Oklahoma. We had about 40 animals and then we scaled down. We got rid of some, we sold some goats, but then we ended up scaling back up because our dog, she had 15 puppies in May. So then we've had to find all of them homes. That was an interesting experience, but yeah, we've been
Did you
doing it
find
for.
homes?
Yes, we have all but one are in homes,
Okay.
so it's been really good.
Oh,
It's been
nice.
Yeah, it's been challenging because the biggest thing was the food. Like where there was a while where we were spending like $100 a week on dog food. And thankfully we're past that now. But yeah, she had 15, and so it was just like, and it was our first time having puppies too. So it was really crazy. Wasn't something that we were prepared for.
Very nice. I'm sure. So you've got you're busy, you've got a lot going on in the Washington home. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we love doing stuff with the animals, and then of course with recall radar and a lot of other things that we've just kind of been doing. And really, the farm doesn't take as much time anymore because it's mostly been, I'd say, like autonomous now, where we just kind of feed them and then they can do their own thing, rotate them between pasture. But last year when we started up, it took a lot of time, very intensive. But this year it hasn't really been too bad. It's been really good.
Well, good. That's good. Nice. A little break.
Absolutely.
And I saw that you built, what is it, a windbreak?
Yes, yes. So our we have four livestock guardian dogs, and they spend their time outside with essentially with the livestock.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're separated, sometimes they're not. So when they're separate, we built an area for them that has a tarp. So we have about four tarps up, and then it's stapled to the fence that we built. We built a fence out of wood and then like cattle panels. And then basically with that, it makes it to where they're able to stay in kind of protected from the cold. There's a heat lamp there as well, but also too they can still stay outside with the animals. And then now it's like they don't even like coming inside, so it's hard to get them to come inside. But because they spend most of
Really?
their time outside, they love that windbreak and they like to play around out there. And there's also full of straw, so they can have warmth as well.
Oh, that's nice. I do have I'm intrigued. So they're guardian dogs. What are they guarding the livestock from?
Yeah, so we have here mostly coyotes.
Okay.
Typically in our, well, because we have so many dogs, so even with the puppies, even with
Oh,
the
sure. Chicken.
um, inside dogs, all of
Oh.
those things, like we haven't really had any real issues with coyotes so far this year or last year. The
Hmm.
biggest thing is that with livestock guardian dogs is they can guard in a few ways. The first part is through like just their scent. So just by nature of them being there, typically canines are going to avoid other canines when they're looking for food. Then also you have barking, of course, and then the more dogs barking, howling, things like that, making noise. But then the last thing about it is the actual physical confrontation. So if there is actually a fight or something, or like the coyotes determine, then the livestock guardian dogs have the size and the strength to defend off against one to two coyotes, potentially three. So we have four. So each livestock guardian dog on its own can cover probably about 100 acres,
Oh,
and or I think it's 100 head of sheep, and then it's probably about, I said 100 acres. I think it's about 60 acres on their own, but they work
really?
best in pairs. Yeah, so they typically will stay with the livestock or find a place where they can monitor. Sometimes they will kind of patrol for predators. But with us having four, I mean, we're not really on that big of an acreage. It's a lot easier where we don't even have coyotes come to where we're at all because
Right.
they just tend to avoid our area pretty much.
And you like barbecue? I'm gonna go ahead and just right now go ahead and start with part one of our quick fire questions. And so what are your top three favorite foods?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest things, I think steak is one of them, of course, brisket, and then for the third, I think it's either like a hamburger or a pizza. For me, I
Okay.
really like brisket. I didn't like brisket before because a lot of the things with brisket were like, it could be like dry sometimes if it's not
Oh,
made
yes.
correctly, or when you put it in the hot holding tray for a while, it just kind of, again, it dries out. For
Yes.
me, once I finally got excuse me, once I finally like made it myself, had it fresh, then that's when I was like, oh, this is like really nice. This is actually pretty good. And so that's when I started really I started using the smoker. My wife got me a smoker, I think it might have been 2021. And then I started doing smoking meats in 2022. And so ever since then, I've done brisket, pulled pork, ribs, chuck
Mm.
roast. Those have been my primary cuts that I've done.
I am a big fan of barbecue, and I lived in Texas for 30 years,
Oh yeah.
and I'm in Iowa. Um, I miss really good tacos, and I miss really good barbecue. I'm like you. I'm very picky though. Like I don't go out and buy a steak. I don't go out and buy brisket. We can do that here. My husband was in the meat business and still dabbles in it, and so we feel like we can do a juicier, more tender
Yep.
brisket, buy it exactly how we want it, with the fat and everything. And so I'm with you. So yes, when I saw your I went, okay, barbecue, yes. And I'm sure I know Oklahoma and Texas have the rival, but I'm sure I would be so happy to have some barbecue in Oklahoma right now.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I agree. I think for me it's been that's one of the good things about living here is we're around it and then we're pretty close to Texas too. Like we're only about 3 hours away from Dallas.
Okay. Yeah.
It's really there's a large variety of things to choose from for sure.
So you're south of Oklahoma City then.
I am east, so I'm about
Okay.
20 minutes east of Oklahoma City.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
So you why don't you let everybody know, and I know people that follow you on LinkedIn know, but what brought you to Recall Radar,
Mm.
your company? Um, but before that, what were you doing before, and what brought you to becoming, this is full time for you, basically. And we can talk a little bit about your company and what it does, and then we'll you can share your screen and show us what your platform is.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing for me was probably in May, my wife had an idea like, what about if we had an app that tracked recalls? Because typically what we were seeing is that most of the time when you find out on recalls, you find out from Facebook or you find out from TikTok or really just a lot of secondhand sources. So you're not finding out from the main source or the area where it's coming from, and then you may find out about recalls late. So one of the things also we observed was you find out about a recall, it's been happening for a week, and then recently we've also seen too where there's been you find out about a recall and then the product is still on the shelves. So we had this with the By Heart recall where there was the infant formula outbreak. It was only supposed to be 2 lots. Then it expanded to all 50 states. Once it expanded to all 50 states, there were still some places, it was Target, Kroger, Walmart, and Albertsons that still had product on the shelves. And in Target specifically, there was product on the shelves that had been discounted for sale. So not only was it on the shelf, it
Oh
was
gosh.
yeah, it was like on a sale. And so what ended up happening with that was the FDA sent each one of those companies a warning letter saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, these products need to be removed from the shelves." And so The biggest thing that we found was with Recall Radar 1, um, we had Recall Radar and then we had Reg IQ initially. So Reg IQ focused on not just recalls but regulations. We consolidated the two to one being Recall Radar for consumers, one being Recall Radar for enterprises. So the consumer version tracks recalls, it updates every 5 minutes, pulls from the FDA, USDA, and CDC. The enterprise version not only tracks recalls, but then tracks regulation. So we came upon this because there's anywhere from 10 to 15 different agencies that regulate the food industry. You have the USDA and the FDA, which most people are familiar with, but
Mhm.
also you have like the CDC for disease outbreaks. You have the EPA for things like water. You have for alcoholic beverages, the Tag and Tax Bureau, or Tobacco and Tax Bureau.
Right.
And then,
Alcohol.
you
Yep.
know, yeah, all of those different bureaus, agencies, you name it, administrations. And so we combine the two ideas because when you pull from the FDA's feed, it shows mostly recalls because that's what's happening daily. But also, too, it shows you a lot of the legislation. So that's where we have kind of the consumer side, which is mostly recalls. And then we have the enterprise side, which is legislation and recalls. But then we also have now that we launched this month is a service that instead of just showing you legislation once it happens, we basically want to show before it's implemented. So we can scan the horizon anywhere from 6 to 12 months,
Hmm.
tell people what's upcoming, tell people about the changes. This is big, especially with things like food dye bans in different states, international laws, changing ingredient bans, things like that. That's where we've been able to have a lot of value for our clients.
Oh, very nice. Um, so, there are companies out there that have um recall software or they have live agents and a lot of those companies are really targeted for large
Mm.
corporations, large companies, lots of different stakeholders. Um, what about who is your target client?
Absolutely. So we can service really anybody within small, medium, or large. So
Okay.
large manufacturers typically have some type of system in place for recall tracking specifically, especially with grocery stores, things like that. Additionally, some smaller companies, they may not have things for recalls or for regulations. So with the larger companies on the regulatory side, they already have a lot of lobbyists, or they may go to Washington D.C. They may be have a ton of different memberships.
Mm-hmm.
Where we can help them is one, we can work directly with either the law firms or the nonprofits that they work with and help them find the most relevant international and state law. Because even though they may be in the federal government, it's nearly impossible to have 50 people, across all 50 states, and then also people in the EU, Asia, Canada, Mexico, whatever. And so what we do is we're able to find that information and bring that to them. On the smaller manufacturers, our solution is really the mobile and web applications that we have. So
Okay.
the consumer version, of course, is mostly just recalls. But if you're someone who's looking for not only recalls, but regulations, our enterprise side is more for small to medium businesses and it's priced accordingly. So, of course, a lot of the enterprise grade softwares are really expensive, anywhere from 50 to $100,000 per year, where ours is much more affordable.
Great. Would you, why don't you go ahead and share your screen
Yeah.
and let's see what this looks like. And just so everybody knows, I've been using this platform, I want to say since the summer,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's great. And when I spoke to you, Marcus, what was it, a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, and you actually gave me a demo. There were a lot of features that I hadn't explored, and there's it's a great platform, and perfect for those small and medium sized businesses that need to keep up to date and get their information in one centralized place, and having that is so important. So I'd love for you to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen really quickly. Okay, so essentially what we have is we have the dashboard here. So this is the main landing page, and we released in beta, I would say in July is when you started using it. It was really early on in this, and some of it hasn't changed, some of it has. But essentially, this shows you the different agencies. So we have the FDA, the Federal Register, regulations.gov, CDC, and also we have the FTC as well. So the FTC shows, of course, different things related to trade. There's stuff here about Instacart, but then also we have the EPA because a lot of that has to do with water, sustainability, and this one is related to Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality. But if you're someone who is looking at recalls or FDA regulation, here we have the FDA's. So you can hit the original, you can view it, the direct FDA source, or you can research the alert. So typically, the way we do it is we have quick search. We don't have the standard and deep yet,
Mhm.
but we use Perplexity and we trained it specifically on government documents. So what it would do is it will search, and as you see, the sources are down here. It
Mhm.
searches and it pulls together a summary based off of the search results, but also too, it finds either reputable official government sources or reputable non-government sources. So places like food safety news, certification bodies, other things like that. So you could click on the source, view the source, but also too, as you see here, these
Yeah.
sources are cited. So most cited sources are from this e-food alert and also the FDA.gov. So the FDA brings most of it, tells you when the production dates were, and then also too, if you were saying, hey, I want to look at the official recall notice, you could click that. Similarly, with non-recalled product. So for here with the EPA, you do the same thing. You start the research, and then what you're doing is it basically does the same thing. Searches the web, pulls all the sources, and then provides you with the plain English summary. And so again, you can look at the official sources, and most of these are or actually in this case, all of them are government sources as well.
Right.
So then we have the state regulations dashboard. So this is something that we were tasked with finding states that they didn't really know had regulations because again, a lot of the bigger players in the market, they already know what's going on in California,
Sure.
Texas, New York, places like that. So we added California just kind of to see what's going on there. And there's not as many things here that have been going through the pipeline. Oklahoma has stuff that's not yet been passed. So we have the 21 additive ban that they're going to be passed, but then there's stuff here that's not as important. But with West Virginia specifically, they passed one of the nation's strictest food dye bans. So they're banning red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, blue 2, and other things. So again, with this, shows you, okay, when does this need to be implemented? So it's going to be January 1st, 2028. And then again, there's also other bans. So this one bans additives. It's similar to this, but this is for school nutritional programs. And the
Okay.
school nutritional programs already had to comply in, I think it was August. So with this one, it's the same as the federal regulations. Only difference is you can view it on the official legislature website here with LegScan or
Oh,
VW
you have it.
Legislature.
Yep.
And then same concept here. You get the plain English summary, tells you pretty much all the food dyes that are going to be banned,
Uh-huh.
all of the other things that are going to be banned, gives you the inline citation, and then also it has the like law firm, the government sources, policy watches, things like that. So then when you're looking at state legislations, you can also, again, we can pull those and then make it into plain English for people and how it affects them specifically.
So I see that you have what Oklahoma, West Virginia, and
Mhm,
California. Um,
mhm.
are you planning on incorporating more states? And I'm sure that it's a tedious process on your end. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. The biggest thing is right now is we will add more as there is more demand. We've had early conversations with some bigger companies that are interested, but then also I think the biggest thing that they're interested is not just the reactive intelligence, but what's upcoming, and that's where we have
Sure.
the service that we offer. For smaller firms specifically, I think this will be a good tool, and really we will add more as there's more demand. The biggest thing that you kind of touched on is that, it's hard to aggregate all the state level data because
Oh,
there's different formats and some states
yeah.
publish stuff, some states don't. The way we found around that and allows us to put in state regulations, but the problem is that it's just a very time consuming task. So, really, what we're wanting to do is see whether it's a need or not first. And then once we figure out that enough people would want it to be developed, then we will, implement all 50 states or the states that the users select that they want.
I love it. I
Thank
do. And it's perfect for me. I'm self-employed, right? So I'm independent. I don't have, a lot of resources. I have LinkedIn and my network and my, all of my food safety colleagues and friends, and I phone them often. But it is really nice to have this, and I have it, when I start up my laptop, it pops up, and I get to go to the feed. One thing I just want to, when I saw that you, on the feed, there
you.
was red for high. Is that a high risk, high alert?
Yeah. So
Okay.
sorry, I accidentally turned down my brightness. Yeah, so
Okay.
these are
Perfect.
things that are most of the what will come through is high, and then there's just medium. There's typically not low. So the way that the filtering works is that things like recalls are immediate. They're going to be high,
Okay.
like these notices about pesticides, or maybe it's soliciting a public comment. It's going to be medium because it's not really like you need to take immediate action.
Sure.
But again, the majority of these things are either legal actions or recalls. So we have this recall, this recall, this recall. Like
Hmm.
all three of those are going to be high. And then you have things that are like legal actions being taken, lawsuits, more recalls, those things also are high as well.
Okay. That makes sense. So something else, I wanted to, because I see you have, on the left side under monitoring, custom alerts.
Hmm.
So let's say I'm in the seafood business,
Hmm.
shrimp specifically, and I don't really necessarily need to know everything else, but I would like to know things that are, possibly associated with shrimp or shrimp, just and so you can use keywords and create your own alerts. Is that?
Absolutely, yes.
Yep.
So the example we have here is strawberries. So
Okay.
we got the question from somebody. They're like, "Hey, if I wanted to only focused on strawberries, like what would I do?" And so really you can focus as broad as you want, or you can focus as narrow as you want.
Okay.
And so we have it to where it sends you recall alerts directly to. So I can actually I'll share what an email alert looks like as well.
Great.
So here's what the email alert looks like. And so this is for the consumer version, but it's very similar to the other version as well. Is okay, something's been recalled. You'll get a recall from us at Recall Radar. And then it will tell you, okay, here is the reason for the recall. Here's why it's being recalled. And really, that's as simple as it is just making it convenient for people because you don't want them to have to really search through the website. And really, that sounds weird, but the way it works is that you want people to interact with the platform as little as possible to save them time,
Mm.
because what it does is they can get the email alerts about things that they care about, because the FDA and USDA already publish email alerts. But
Mhm.
again, it's so fragmented, or you're either getting everything or you're getting nothing.
Right.
And we make it simple. And so, also, too, on the consumer side, very similar to the enterprise side, here's the recalls. But then also, too, you can just say, hey, I want to hear about this product category, this product category, this product category. And then also to here's some custom keywords that I want to put in for searching this.
Baby formula, you
Yeah,
know? I
that's
mean,
a
honestly, some people might say, well, what would a consumer really want to know about recalls? But, as a new grandmother,
absolutely.
I mean, I want to know. And I'm just, again, I can't believe that we've got formula on the shelves and being sold at discount that's being recalled. Um, this is exactly an example why a consumer would use a platform for this, and or use this recall radar. And the price is extremely reasonable, and we don't have to go into the pricing, but for I have to say, I mean, it's definitely something that your average household can afford. And
That's
if it's something that is important to you, absolutely it's worth it. It gives you that peace of mind. So I think that's great that it's also, available for the consumer, and you keep it geared for the consumer without overloading them with, you know, all the bells and whistles that we like as
yeah.
professionals. So that's great. And then if you wouldn't mind sharing, which I was very excited to learn about your AI assistants.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me
And
share my.
if there's something that I've skipped, you're more than welcome to. I want to make sure that you're sharing what you
Yeah. No,
learned.
this is perfect.
Okay,
This
great.
is perfect.
Hey, there we've
Um,
got Alex, the regulatory specialist.
Absolutely. So with Alex and David, these two are regulatory specialists. So essentially, Alex answers questions based off of the Code of Federal Regulations. David does the same thing, but it's based on stuff that's related to hazard. So the way it works is, let's say you type in a query. So we'll have a sample query. We
Mhm.
send it in. What it does is pull from a database of official government documents and research either guidance documents, laws, legislation. So, because of this, there's no web search capability, but it does pull from the database that we update in real time. And so, essentially, we look when different regulations change, we'll put them in, and then Alex will scan the database and then look up the official CFRs and then see what they can do there. So what it asks, it basically tells you, okay, what's the risk level? What's the consequences? The plain English explanation, what does it all mean and what you need to do? And then it gives you the CFRs because the reason why it gives you the sections and subsections is so you can look it up on your own. Because, of course, with any type of AI, there's always the risk of hallucination. However, because it's only pulling from our documents, the risk is minimized. But when you're making a food safety plan or doing some type of justification, you can't have the risk of being wrong at all. So the biggest thing is you want to make sure that it's right. So this gives you the ability to fact check as well. Similarly, hold on, sorry, I think I okay, no. Sorry, I accidentally clicked something on the screen while I was trying to move this picture over. Similarly, with the hazard coordinator, there's sample questions. So then you could say, what are the critical control points for baking? So then what we'll do is we'll copy the question here, and then it will do the same thing. So basically, what it does is it uses the same type of technology where it goes back, retrieves the documents, and then puts them in a format that's easy to understand. Um, and then essentially with this, hold on, sorry, I'm having some issue here. Okay. Essentially with this, it's very similar. What happens is you have the um, answer it gives you. But for the hazard coordinator specifically, it will ask questions first rather than jumping straight into giving an explanation. The reason being is, of course, every plant, every manufacturer, everything is all different, right? And so we don't want to make assumptions. We want to make sure to get how your process works specifically, and then you can answer the questions that way. Oh, you're on mute. Oh, Michelle, I think you're on mute.
You're right, I am. Was I thought I was going to get a dog bark, but I didn't. So,
Oh, no worries.
thank you. So there is in the middle or towards the bottom, I see that you can attach files. And
Hmm.
so what kind of is this feeding AI the information? Would it be what type of files would be attached?
Yeah, so you can attach, I believe it's PDF and CSV. So if you have a hazard plan, it really just depends on what you're needing.
Okay.
You can ask it to audit your hazard plan. You can
Oh,
ask for recommendations and questions.
there it is.
Really, anything that you would do with a normal chatbot, you can upload. The biggest difference here is that it's going to be um, something that's more grounded based on official sources rather than random sources.
Sure.
That's really the biggest difference here, and
Okay.
something that we include for the customer is because we will prioritize accuracy.
Perfect. Um, Again, for smaller medium businesses, this is a small price when you have a very lean team sometimes of just one who
Mhm.
is responsible for everything food safety related, including writing a HACCP plan or food safety plan. And this is definitely something that it would, I think, help it, increase
Yeah,
efficiency, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it's great. I really do. I've been excited about it, and I'm so happy that um, you are here to share it because I know that there's a lot of people that, it's overwhelming. I mean, and there's no company that, I mean, there are great companies, big companies that do great things and that's perfect. But every business is different and we don't all need the same thing. So it's nice to have this. And it's like you said, I mean, you're really looking at accuracy and that's important. So I'm glad that you continue to touch on that.
Yeah, and so this is that's really again the biggest thing for us, like I said, is accuracy. Because when we started, kind of the idea came from when I was working in QA about 2 or 3 years ago. ChatGPT was fairly new, it had just came out, and then it
Mm,
was inaccurate. Like it was the biggest thing. Like I didn't know whether salmonella was an adulterant in pet food or not. And so I kept asking, and I knew that it was, but I didn't know that. So like that's what kind of sparked this. And so what I did here was I put in the sample questions here. So I just used AI to make some sample, like, just something that it could put in
hmm
there. And then what it does is it says, okay, here are the summary of your likely critical control points. So because of baking, so with, of course, having raw flour or raw eggs, that's one of them. Also tells you, okay, you need a 5 log reduction.
Yep.
Also, hazard controls things like listeria or spoilage organisms at the end because you have icing that is chilled. And then also, two foreign materials, so metal. And then it gives you a draft hazard analysis. So then for each process step, it has the potential hazard, biological, chemical, physical, and then it says, okay, biological, chemical, physical, things like that. And then it also has a sample. Okay, what should the CCPs look like? And then also two cites the official CFRs as well. So this is again something that you wouldn't just copy and paste, but it gives you a nice template to start from. And you
Sure.
would review it for any inaccuracies, and then you'd be able to put it into your food safety plan.
So when we talk about accuracy, and I know you mentioned, a lot of the information that you pull are from the government agencies and um you don't just pull off the World Wide Web, right? Can you explain a little bit? I mean, you don't have to really, but interesting to me because you're right. Chat GPT and other AI platforms aren't always accurate. And so there is a difference between paying $22 a month and paying, $99 a month or $150 a month, whatever. And I think that obviously because of the work that goes into it, right?
Mhm.
Would you explain that? Just how does that work? And I know it's tedious, but I think it's important for people to understand when you're dealing with AI, and it is a tool, but
Yeah, absolutely.
right, but that tool has to we have to make sure it's accurate. Otherwise, it's it's lost its credibility, and we all have. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that using AI is great, of course, because we're an AI based company. So a lot of our stuff is AI. And I think that the biggest challenge with someone who's a more casual user is one, you have to know how to make a prompt to get the right information.
mm,
So that's not something that's entirely difficult on its own. But again, if you're a QA manager, you're spending, 40 to 50, sometimes even 60 hours a week working, you may not have the time to sit on ChatGPT and learn how to prompt it correctly to get the right information. Similarly, if somebody who's using the ChatGPT but they're not familiar with the regulations, they're not going to know that it's wrong.
right.
And then also too, the biggest thing that we do is we ground it in official government sources using the database, but also using the application programming interface that the FDA and the USDA provides. So we're able to pull from government sources and put those into our applications. And so, really, with that, it makes it to where there's still a hallucination risk, but we can also change the settings of the model to not input values that are like untrue. So the way that it works again that you can't necessarily do if you were using on the app is that we can format it to where it only puts things out that we know to be true that are based on the guidance documents, and so that way it minimizes the amount of hallucination, minimizes the amount of incorrect data, outdated data, because the data set is based off of the documents that we upload. So again, when we first kind of encountered ChatGPT, it would say, "Well, my knowledge is cut off at this time, so I can't answer this or that."
Mm,
And so for ours, we have the knowledge cut off that one ChatGPT gives, but also to the information that we give it. And so it uses the most up to date data for Code of Federal Regulations and things like that. And then we go and update that periodically as things change.
Marcus, you keep bringing up the term hallucination. What does that
Mhm.
mean
Yeah.
in AI? I've not heard that before. I'm like in the Flintstone era, so yabba dabba do.
Yeah. So hallucination is very similar to what it would mean for a person. So with hallucination, it means that you're seeing things that are not there. So
Oh,
what AI tends to do, just because of the way that it's coded, is that it's more it's not really optimized for truthful information. It's more or less optimized for users to continue to use it. So
oh,
there's been instances of AI giving out bad advice to people or saying that things are normal when they're not. Or there was a lot of controversy with ChatGPT specifically because it ended up being like too friendly. So it just basically, if you put something in there, it would just agree with what you were saying, or
yes.
wouldn't fact check you, or just thinks every idea you have is great.
I
So,
want to arm wrestle Chat GPT, you know?
mhm. Yeah.
Slap
Oh,
me
yeah.
silly.
So, like, that in itself is a little bit different from hallucination, but hallucination is more or less making and fabricating information and passing that off as truth. And that's why even like for us, like we use multiple AIs because different AIs give different answers because they're
Hmm.
trained differently, programmed differently. You can also fact check each AI with each other. Like it becomes a large loop, but also to having food safety expertise really helps
Yes,
because again, it's like I view AI more like a recipe. Like you could be have a recipe and not be a good cook and not cook well.
right.
But you could have AI have a recipe, be a good cook, and make something great. So I think that we have to keep those things in mind and not just blindly trust it. And that's really what hallucination comes down to, is just fabricating information.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you for sharing this platform. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on while we're screen sharing?
I don't have anything else really
Okay.
about the platform.
Okay. That was great. And thank you again, because I'm a big fan. And so, I'm hoping that this will, other businesses will see this and it will spark an interest because it's done a lot for me in my party of one over here. So
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you. Um, so where do you see, congratulations to you and your wife, Brianna, on doing this. You're both very dedicated. I see both of you on LinkedIn. I get your emails, I get your summaries. I really enjoy the summaries that you post on LinkedIn. Um, it's not just what's happening, but here we are continuing down this path. And I know that this whole formula recall has just been, I think where everybody's frustrated with it. But
Absolutely.
and so, when you provide these recaps, it helps really personalize it, right?
Yeah.
Um, babies are, I mean, we're all data, but
Yeah.
babies are important, precious data, and we need to keep that data positive. So thank you for continuing to provide, the information with that. Where do you see, this in 5 years? Are you looking at expanding or, I'm curious what you see in the somewhat near future.
Yeah. For us, the biggest thing is expanding to other regions. So,
Oh,
recall data for the EU. Really, we would like to be
oh,
global.
wow.
It may not all be on the same
Uh-huh.
form, but what we would do is make it to where you would have first, I think, would be the EU, and then maybe Canada, and then not only just that, but just really the biggest goal for us is public health. People don't think about food safety as public health, and they think it's just it just costs money. But the data from the USDA shows, or I think it was the FDA, in collaboration with the USDA, showed that it costs Americans yearly $75 billion from foodborne illness. And that doesn't include things like brand damage, things like lawsuits after the fact. Like these are the direct cost of recalls and foodborne illness that happens to people who get hospitalized. I think the average Listeria monocytogenes hospital bill was something like $2.5 million or something crazy like that. And it's like these things, one, if you don't care about the human aspect, there's a real economic impact as well.
Yes. My gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really crazy.
Wow. Well, that's great. I have no doubt that you and uh Brianna will achieve that. You guys are amazing in everything that you do. It's really been nice to get, to know you and I've enjoyed it. Again, met you on LinkedIn and here we are and that's how this is why I love doing the food court by DSG because I have the opportunity to meet fascinating people every day that are doing great things that nobody knows about. And we all have a passion in keeping our consumers safe. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you for everything that you're doing. Is there anything that you want to close with? you want to give yourself a plug, where, when we air this, it will have your logo, of course, but you go ahead and you do whatever you want to do. Say whatever
Yeah.
you say.
The really biggest thing right now is again, well, first and foremost, we appreciate having a platform to share what we're doing. It's been really great. The few plugs that I would have is like our website is getrecallradar.com. So it's free for consumers to sign up. We do have a premium version that offers more features. We'll be releasing more features as well. My email is marcus@getrecallradar.com. So if anybody has questions about enterprise or our trade intel service, trade intel covers all 50 states, it covers international. What we do is we find regulations before they occur. And then lastly, the biggest thing for I'd like to close on is just that we really appreciate the support we've gotten from everybody, whether it's been from LinkedIn, from people signing up for our newsletter. And currently, right now, we're undergoing trying to get funding. So we're raising around for investors. And what we're going to do is build out more operational support, hire contract developers, go to trade shows, but then also too, we're going to do more with AI and machine learning. So
Oh,
not just a chat GPT, but actually developing our own algorithms that can score
wow.
hits and things like that. So yeah, we have the bare bones of it, but that's essentially what we're doing. And, we just really appreciate the support because we went from I think we got 140 users in the first month, and then like some of those, I think it was like 75 or 55 of those users came in like 2 weeks after I was laid off from my job, and then started doing this full time. And even you, Michelle, like when you posted about it, tons of people signed up. Like it's just been we've been really fortunate to have the support we have. So we really thank everyone.
You're doing good things, and I am so in awe of the food safety community, and I want to expand it. A lot of times we have a lot of the same people in our circles, and I just want to keep, expanding on that. And there's so many great people with ideas, and they need to be heard. You all need to be heard. So that's why I love doing this, is to be able to provide that platform for people that are doing great ideas that a lot of people don't know about. And this should hopefully provide, more opportunities and improve our food safety, our food supply. So thank you so much, Marcus. I wish you a wonderful holiday. We are going to take a little break for the holidays, even though it's only been episode 3,
Yep.
but we will resume in January. And if you are not following the Food Court by DSG on LinkedIn, I highly encourage you to. You get all notifications on, they also have great content that they share, not just with food, but with environmental, all kinds of stuff. So follow the Food Court by DSG on LinkedIn, and then also subscribe on YouTube, and you can get notifications as soon as this will be aired. But again, thank you, Marcus, so much. And I appreciate it very much having you.
Much. Yeah. Thanks for having me.